I honestly didn't think I'd be making this video right now, as I sold my iPhone 10 a long time ago. However, recently a friend lent me their iPhone 10 and we're going to be talking about that today. The phone launched at £1,000 and set the precedent for premium smartphone pricing. Nowadays you can get one for a quarter of that. But the question is, should you? Hey guys, I'm Ryan Thomas and this is my iPhone 10 review in 2021. So I dailied this thing for a week or two and I found a few things that I didn't expect to see, such as there's this issue, it's not quite touch disease, but it's similar, where anyone who's replaced the screen on an iPhone 10, if they've not done it properly, will result in just phantom touches all over the place. Now this is something I had to research, this wasn't something that happened with my particular unit as the screen had never been replaced. However, it can be an issue, and if you're buying used, you do need to look out for that. Also, I was absolutely gobsmacked to find out that you can get one of these for between £250 and £300 on eBay UK or Facebook Marketplace, which is just insane. And by the way, I get all of my phones, if not from friends, from eBay. A lot of people ask me, where do you find these phones in 2021? They're used, of course. I'm not buying brand new smartphones from 4 years ago. Anyway, the device has been out for 3.5 years. That's kind of crazy just to think about, and at this point it's almost done with software support. Expect another platform upgrade, maybe 2 going into the future, but don't expect to hold on to this thing for an awfully long time. Other than that though, I don't think it looks that bad physically. As I've said before, this is basically my favourite form factor, with thin-ish bezels, save for the big notch at the top. The curved sides with glass and metal materials make it really nice to hold if you haven't got huge hands, though you might get a unit with a lot of scratches like this one. There is an IP67 water and dust resistance rating too, so if you do find yourself in British weather, then you can use it with pretty much no problems. Although, as I said before, if the screen's been replaced, it can be an issue because the seals might actually not be the same ones that they used when they first made the phone, making it IP67 rated. Screen-wise, we're off to a winner with a near 1080p 60Hz AMOLED, but the main concern I have is actually regarding brightness, not refresh rate. You don't need a high refresh rate panel in a smartphone, and I've said that so many times before I can't even count. I certainly don't miss it with the iPhone 10. Sharpness, colours and size were all pretty good thanks to the self-emitting pixels, and while some will hate the notch, I really don't mind it, and Apple hasn't moved on from it yet. However, out in direct sunlight, the screen just didn't quite get bright enough sometimes, where newer models do. And yeah, that's a shame, but it's also something to think about when buying one of these. Because it isn't the biggest screen in the world and because it has that fairly sizable notch, it's not ideal for watching videos and playing games on, though I had absolutely no problems with it. Just bear that in mind if you watch a lot of movies on your phone, as there's a big notch in the way and it's not the biggest screen. Performance is also not going to be up to enthusiast standards. So it's the A11 Bionic chip, 3GB of RAM, and you can tell from the specs alone, it's not the best performer. Apple's been pretty good at using low RAM counts and kind of getting around it, but you just can't get around it in 2021. With the software that we use day to day, we're constantly switching between applications, you do feel it. Apps don't hold in RAM for as long as you'd want them to, and by the time you've moved back from Instagram to Twitter or something, you may have to reload the app, which means that the stuff that was on the screen before is now refreshed and is no longer there. It's not the worst thing in the world, it's very usable. Obviously I used the phone for 2 weeks and I didn't really feel it that bad, but a lot of people who are used to modern smartphones are definitely going to feel a hit if they're moving to an older phone like this, or if it's something you need to use temporarily whilst you get a new phone. This does get on your nerves if you're constantly using your smartphone. And it's kind of the same with the battery life. If you're constantly using it, this thing is just not going to last you a full day. It'll last you maybe half a day, and topping up to charge is pretty slow. If you use the included charger, it's 5 watts, which is very slow. And if you go for an upgraded plug, it'll give you 18 watt fast charging, which is, fast charging. It's not the fastest in the world. It's going to take easily more than any BBK phone to charge, and topping up on your lunch break, it's probably going to take the whole hour if you have an hour off. So it's definitely not the best thing in the world, especially considering it's a 2700 mAh battery which is already small, but also battery health comes into consideration when you talk about a phone that's 3.5 years old. The one that I had was about 85%, and it just about got me through a full day of usage, but obviously I'm a lighter user, as I've said on this channel many times. For heavier users, you know, you can kind of try and buy one with like a 90% battery health, but it's still not going to be amazing. Again, the size of the battery is just a limiting factor. And also, you know, this is still a 3.5-year-old phone, so it's going to be hard to find one with really good battery health unless the battery's been replaced, and the service done by Apple isn't free. So it's definitely something to watch out for. This is the sort of smartphone that's getting a little bit long in the tooth, to the point where it's maybe better just spending extra money and getting something slightly newer, even if it does cost you a little bit more. We need to talk about the cameras, because the lack of versatility aside, I was actually very impressed, surprisingly impressed, with the iPhone X's cameras. With the dual 12 megapixel cameras on the back and a 7 megapixel selfie shooter, there's a good amount of quality hardware there, even if the sensors aren't huge. However, in Pixel fashion, it's the software and processing that makes this camera stack what it is. There's a lot of dynamic range in the images, plenty of contrast and sharpness too. Even if the images aren't the sharpest in the world, there's plenty of detail there. There's a fairly distinct lack of contrast if you're coming from a Samsung or a Pixel device these days, as it kind of boosts the shadows a little bit. I like this processing style, but as with everything, it's more subjective than objective when it comes to photos. Colours and white balance seem pretty accurate, and the iPhone X does a good job of capturing real life. So, should you actually go out and buy an iPhone X in 2021? Well, I think if you can afford to spend more, you probably should. Get something like an iPhone 11. It's not that much different in terms of price. Okay, it's about like 80% more expensive. Forget about that. It's going to deliver more value. It's going to last longer. It gives you way better cameras, way better battery life. Maybe not quite as good screen, but it is a slightly bigger one. It's one of those ones where, like, sure, it's a premium smartphone, the iPhone X, but again, it's a bit long in the tooth. One thing I had in my notes that I want to bring up is, if you can and you don't want to spend loads of money, try and get the iPhone SE 2020. Sure, it doesn't look as pretty. The camera versatility wise might not be there, although quality is better, but you're getting much better performance. You know, the screen is going to be brighter. The phone is still a very good smartphone. It's got wireless charging and a glass back, and it's premium, but it's also going to get software updates for much longer in the future. And it's roughly the same size, although of course the screen doesn't reach all the way to the edges. One thing I personally like about it is Touch ID. We still have to wear masks where I live, and using Touch ID is much nicer than the face recognition, because you always have to put in your PIN code. But yeah, just want to throw that out there, as functionally the iPhone SE 2020 is the better phone, but obviously aesthetically it's not really in the same class. And I also want to say, like, again, how mad is it the iPhone X came out 3.5 years ago? It feels like it came out like just the other day. It's kind of mental. Anyway, should you buy it? Probably not. If you want to, you know, it's still a good-ish phone, but there are just so many good options on the market. And you know, I haven't even mentioned all the Android options you can get for that price. Just plentiful. Anyway, I want to thank my friend who has decided to be nameless or remain nameless for lending me this phone. It's been brilliant. I've been able to use it for a couple of weeks whilst I've kind of been in between phones, and obviously I've been able to make a video out of it, which is double good. Double good. Wow. Can you tell it's 5 AM? Anyway, I want to thank you all so much for watching. I will leave all my social medias in the links in the video description. Please do hit like, comment and subscribe if you're new around here to never miss a video like this one. I want to give a massive shout out to my patrons for being continually supportive of my work. I've been Ryan Thomas, and I'll catch you later. Peace.